the Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you, too. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live from beautiful Cape May, New Jersey, which is actually not beautiful today. It's actually like dreary and raining. When you're near the beach and it's dreary and raining, it's just another wasted beach day. But I'm broadcasting live via SHR Media and also streaming live on Facebook. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that you have missed me as much as I have missed my audience. The show has been on hiatus for about a month now, and I apologize for that. I've been extremely busy. That's the best way I can describe it. All in a good way, all good stuff and all in a good way. And that's why the show has been on hiatus, because I don't want to do a show that's rushed. I want to do a show that's, high quality and that kind of thing. And I can't always, unfortunately, here lately, I haven't always been able to do that. But we're back today and I'm very pleased about that. I wanted to let you know that our guests today are Monica Shah. She's a business coach. She's going to talk to us and a best-selling author, and is going to talk to us about revenue breakthroughs today. And then our second hour, we have Meredith Atwood. She's also an author, podcaster, and motivational speaker. She's going to talk to us about the Year of No Nonsense, which is being released in December 2019. So I'm really happy to be with you guys today. And I see some of you guys in the Facey chat. I appreciate that very much. A little bit that's going on. I had, of course, Money Talk News set up to talk about, a brand new Apple phone and stuff like that. But this wouldn't even be a money show if I didn't talk about how the stock market took a major dive today, and how I think that if you thought we were not in a trade war with China, we definitely are in a trade war with China as it stands now. China is retaliating against us. President Trump has said, which I found the wording of this curious, but he said he's ordering companies not to do business in China anymore. And I'm gonna chalk that up to a personality thing. What are you doing, dude? You can't. This is you're not in China. This is America, and you can't really do that, right? You can't really order companies to not do business in China. That's not the way it works. But I thought that was, I kind of think there's a part of me that thinks that maybe he was trying to be funny or something in a way. I don't know. But I think his point was we need to start veering away from China. I think that was his point. But that's what he said. But the long and short of it is that we are, I think, now in a trade war with China. I think before we were kind of calling this skirmish or a battle, but I think now we might be officially into war territory. And the market didn't take it very well. Like I said, market took a nosedive today of about 600 points. So that's of course not good. So don't remember your 401ks are long-term investing. Maybe don't go online and look at it today. You're just going to go ahead and ignore that. We're still up for the year, so don't panic. It's going to be fine. But I wouldn't take a look at it today. Today's not a good day to take a look at your portfolios, sadly. So I had to talk about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Apple's coming out with some new products now. You guys all know, who've been following the show for a while, that I'm a big Apple fan. Along with, there's a battle. There's always a battle, Apple versus Samsung, which is the best. Apple versus, the PC version. I am, of course, in the Apple camp. I don't know if I'm excited about the new phone. Supposedly, they're going to announce 3 new phones, some iPad upgrades, and a pretty big laptop. They seem to be going bigger now. This is all going to take place at a September event, according to Bloomberg. One of the items is going to be a Pro iPhone that could rival traditional cameras. They're expected to go on sale next month. They're hoping that it's going to give them a big boost during the holidays, because they've been in a little bit of a creation. I was going to say creational. I was going to create my own word. A creative slump, in my opinion. I mean, the product has been as good and reliable, but they haven't been really presenting much new stuff. I was pretty happy once they made my iPhone 7 waterproof. After that, I was good to go. I know it's time to move on. It's time to get a 10. It's time to, but I'm not ready yet. In other news, the Amazon rainforest in Brazil has been on fire. They refer to it as the lung of the earth, so to speak, because I believe it provides 30% of our carbon dioxide. So for the earth, and it's burning. Like I said, it's the largest rainforest on Earth. It's burning at a record pace, according to the National Institute for Space Research. And the president is saying that not our president, but the president of Brazil is saying that they don't have the resources to fight the fire. And the fires are being set by farmers for clearing their land, but it's a problem now. So over 72,843 fires have been detected so far this year, which is crazy, and it's drawing outrage over Brazil's environmental policy. No doubt from a bunch of environmentalists over here in the United States who can't seem to help themselves. Did I just say that? Yeah. So, but one of the real concerns is that the Amazon is, of course, home to different species of flora, and it's supposed to slow down global warming, and so environmentalists are really concerned about that. One other news item: AT&T, Verizon, and 10 other big phone companies have struck a deal to protect consumers from illegal robocalls. This saddens me as a political consultant who does robocalls and communications. And they're going to help law enforcement prosecute people behind robocalls. So you guys will probably be really happy to hear that. The agreement is with all the state attorneys generals throughout the country, and they're going to implement free call blocking technology for consumers. So apparently there were 48 billion automated calls in the United States last year. That's a lot. That's too much. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then when I come back, we'll be talking to the one and only Monica Shah.
After 60 years of systematic indoctrination, many Americans are failing in life, not because of a lack of opportunities, but rather a negative attitude. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, perhaps the inspirational words of Minister Chuck Swindoll will encourage a more virtuous approach to life's many setbacks. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than the facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than success, than what other people think, say, or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, or a home. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play a very important string we all have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. I'm Ron Edwards. Please check out my brand new website, theronedwards.talkspot.com. And let's meet again on another page from the Edwards Notebook.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America.
Okay, we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest this first hour is Monica Shah. She's a business coach, and she's going to talk to us today about revenue breakthroughs, a little bit about Monica. She is a 7-figure business coach who helps entrepreneurs build businesses that support their ideal lifestyles. After receiving her MBA from Catalog School of Management and working in marketing for L'Oreal Paris, Monica left corporate to start her first company and then her second company, Revenue Breakthrough. Today, she takes her clients step by step through building, growing, and expanding their businesses. She uses her business acumen to help her clients get unstuck, eliminate self-sabotage, and move through fear. She is also the author of Getting Rich, You're Doing It Backwards, and Pause 52. Very excited to have her on the show. And without further ado, Monica Shah.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on the show today. Very excited. Is there anything that I mentioned in your bio that I left out that you want the audience to know?
No, I think you've got it pretty clearly.
Okay, very, very good. Sometimes I don't know about you, but I wrote my bio in 1976, and then by the time I'm on somebody's show, sometimes I've left out details. So I always ask my guests if there's anything else that they would like to share about what they do. So please tell me about. Pardon me, 1 second. Tell me about how you came to leave corporate and start your own business. What is it that inspired you to do that?
Well, it's interesting because I worked at L'Oreal Paris, and working at L'Oreal was like getting a PhD in marketing. It was intense. We did more than 3 product launches a year. I was a brand manager there. So I was working on their skincare line, and it was really great, but it was also intense. And there was a particular day when we were working on launching a skincare moisturizer for young women, and the plant broke down. And so the bottle that we wanted to create the moisturizer in, we couldn't get that bottle, and we had a launch coming really quickly. So I sent to the department store. I went up to Nordstrom, and I got all of the lotions for the department. And then I went to a couple different stores, and I brought them back because we had to figure out a new bottle that day. So we had this long, crazy day, and we were working. And now it's 2 a.m., and I'm sitting across from my manager at the time. And this woman had shot up the corporate ladder. She was maybe a year older than I was, or 2, and she loved what she was doing. And so we're sitting there, and I'm taking a bottle of lotion, I'm emptying out the lotion, we're looking at the bottle, writing down some observations, putting the bottle down. Take the next bottle, empty out the lotion, looking at the bottle, writing observations down. And I look up, and it's 2:30 in the morning. And I take the next bottle, and I empty the lotion out, and then I write the observations down. And she looks up at me, and she says, Monica, is this not like the greatest thing you've ever done? Isn't this so much fun? And I kind of looked at her, and I thought, like, well, maybe she's kidding. Like, how could this possibly be fun? And then I thought, well, maybe we've, like, entered the twilight zone. Because it was 2:30 a.m. and we were emptying lotion bottles.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
I stopped and I looked at her and I was like, oh, I can't say anything because she's serious. Like she was completely in earnest, having the time of her life. And that, I realized that's why this woman's like shot up the corporate ladder. that, she ended up being one of the youngest heads of consumer products after that because she genuinely liked the job. And she even found a way to genuinely understand and like the grunt work of the job. And it was really that moment that I realized I had to leave L'Oreal and find something that I was just as excited about doing as this woman was. Like where I could genuinely like every part of the job, even the parts that were the grunt work where, even if I didn't love it, like I really sort of understood the purpose of it. And ultimately, I ended up leaving corporate for that reason. Like I wanted to do something that I felt really passionate about and that I really felt like was my mission on the planet.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that ultimately that's what we all want, right?
Yeah.
And
I think we spent a lot of time and energy trying to find it. But I know for me, it was so clear, when I left corporate that I was meant to coach people, that I was meant to help people, because it had been something that I had been doing my whole life, and now I was, able to get paid for it.
Excellent. I love it. And so you automatically moved right into coaching. How did that evolution take place?
Well, yeah, I did. I wish I could say, though, that it was like an easy, smooth experience. I moved into coaching, and but within 12 months of moving into coaching, I was $25,000 in debt. So I definitely loved what I was doing. I didn't know how to make money from it. And I think that's the experience that happens to so many people who start businesses, whether it's coaching or whether it's another business, is that you're so excited about the prospect of it, but then it ends up just eating, all of your money and all of your energy, and it can be very difficult to have something to show for it. And I know for me, I started to do everything I possibly could to figure out the money piece of it. So I would, I would sell things on eBay. I did focus groups. I walked dogs. I passed it. I did everything to try to generate the money to support the business. And one of the things that I did a lot of was I rented my apartment out on Airbnb. I had an apartment in New York City. Airbnb had just started at the time. So there was a particular week in which I had rented the apartment out for 7 days in a row. Like one person's couch for 3 days, another person's couch for 3 days, and then a final person's couch for that final day. And I grabbed all my stuff and I had the subway. And I got out of the subway to the BDSQ, and I picked up a full reason. And the 63rd Street stop. And as I got out of the subway, I had 2 bags on one arm, 2 bags on another arm, a bag across my chest, and then a roller bag that I was carrying. And I was walking up the subway stairs. And I was walking, and people were knocking the bags off of me, because it's just crowded and busy in New York. And the roller bag was rolling down the stairs all the time. And then I finally got to the top of the stairs, and I picked this subway stop because I was in an escalator. So I looked, and the elevator was shut for that day. And I looked in the other direction, and the escalator was also closed for that day. And there were 4 more flights of stairs to get to street level.
Good old New York City.
Yeah, good old New York City, for sure. I mean, it's such an intense place, right?
Right,
I got to this place where I was so tired that I put my bags on the subway floor, and then I did the unthinkable. I sat down on the New York subway floor. Which, you hit rock bottom, it's just sit down on a New York subway floor. And
yes.
I sat there with a sort of disheveled mouth, and people were coming by. They were noticing. They were trying not to stare at me, and I'm crying as I'm sitting on the floor, surrounded by all these bags. And in that moment, I got really clear that I had to stop doing this. Like, I had become a virtual bag lady that, bags all around the city just so that I could stayed out of the business owner. I was working 80 hours a week or more just so that I could not work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And I really got clear that I have to figure it out. And I gave myself 12 months to figure it out, to figure out how to consistently and sustainably generate money in my business. Otherwise, I'm going to go back and get a job. And what was interesting at that point was that I started really learning, hiring business coaches, hiring marketing coaches, going back and learning from my business school friends. I had an MBA from the Harvard School of Management. What I got really clear on is there's a lot of stuff out there that teaches you about tactics and strategies, like how to do a podcast, or how to do videos, or how to write a blog, or how to make a your sequence, or how to do a blog. And there's very little that teaches you all the pieces that work towards actually making money in your business. Like, what is it? How do you put everything together that you can consistently monetize a business? And when I got from that, I finally started to shift things in myself. And what I got clear on is that I was doing everything backwards. And most entrepreneurs are.
Oh, now this is the part that I definitely want to get to. I hear like a little bit of static. I don't know if you've moved or anything like that, but I wanted to mention it in case you did. And I know sometimes I walk around when I'm doing an interview, and that's not good.
Yeah, I haven't moved.
Okay,
but
that sounds much better.
Okay, it might have just been my headset or something.
Okay, yep, that's much better. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but I like what you said about us doing it backward.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I found, and I was doing it was that I was doing everything backwards and working twice as hard as I needed to be and making half as much money as I could be. And the main problem that I found was that I was doing all these activities that weren't focused on making money, and I wasn't actually focusing on revenue generating activities. I wasn't doing sales conversations. I wasn't doing activities that generated sales conversations. And I didn't have any, and part of it all was because I was afraid of money. And so what I got really clear on is that there are 5 steps to making money. And when you get clear on what those 5 steps are, and when I got clear on what those 5 steps were, everything got so much easier. I was able to pay off the $25,000 in debt within 12 months. I put $7,000 in the bank after that for the next 6 months. And then every year since then, I have doubled or tripled my revenue. In 2013, we crossed 7 figures. We've been a 7-figure coaching company ever since. And I think the thing that makes me most happy now is that I teach these steps to business owners all over the country, all over the world now, and they're making a difference in their businesses. Because what I know to be true, and I think this is especially true given all of your announcements at the beginning of the show, like given everything that's happening in the world today, is that if we put enough money in the hands of the right people, this world's going to look like a different place. So we really need to be doing more of that. So it's super exciting to be showing people how to generate the money so that they can make the changes in the world that we all need.
And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? I mean, I think some people's ultimate goals are just to make money and make their own lives better. But I think you are always better off when you look at it from a broader perspective and how you enhancing yourself is going to be able to help others. So one of the reasons, I guess, that entrepreneurs, you say, struggle with money is because they're doing it backward. They're doing it in the wrong order, right? So
absolutely.
Okay. So what would you say that entrepreneurs do first that they really should be doing last, or at least at another spot in their journey?
So most of us are just unaware of it's 2 things. Number one, most of us are drifting in our businesses. And when I say drifting, most entrepreneurs I meet don't actually have an intentional plan for what they need to do to generate money. They're playing what I call Russian roulette with their marketing, which is like they're choosing to do a newsletter because their friend told them to do it, or they're choosing to write a book because they noticed somebody else did it, or because they watched some free webinar on it, or because they read in a newsletter that it's really cool to do a podcast, so they're doing a podcast. So there's a lack of intentionality around the activities that people are doing to generate money. And I meet people all the time who spent years working on their business, but they've never actually focused on what they need to do to generate money. And then that is deeply connected to the second reason, which is, and in a lot of ways should be the first reason, which is one of the reasons we aren't focusing on looking at money and looking at our numbers is because we're afraid of it. Money is one of the biggest taboos in society. It's a big taboo that's right up there with sex and talking about sex. And the truth is, we talk more about sex than we do about money. So therefore, because money is such a taboo to talk about, we were never really trained to talk about it or look at it. And there's all these beliefs that we have around money. Things like money is the root of all evil. I'm not going to be able to get into heaven if I make a lot of money. Rich people are mean. Rich people are rude. Rich people do the wrong thing. Making money isn't spiritual. There's all kinds of stories that we have around money. And until we look at that, until we look at our stories around money and make that one of our priorities to shift our relationship with it, then it's always going to feel like you're doing something wrong when you're focusing on generating money. And as long as that feeling is present, then you're always going to look away from it, and it's going to be a struggle to make it. And because it'll be a struggle to make it, it will be a struggle for you to take care of yourself, to take care of your community, and to take care of the world at large.
That's a deep thought, and I don't think that people take the time for, in essence, to even think about that, or even know where to start to begin thinking about that. Does that make sense?
It's true. It's one of the reasons. So I do a 3-day event every year called Master Your Money, and it happens in Atlanta in May. And the first day of the event, we take a deep dive into looking at your voices around money and where they came from and where they got started. And over again, people say to me, Monica, I never realized that this is the reason I've been procrastinating, around sales in my business, or this is the reason that I haven't raised my prices, or this is the reason that I'm afraid to put myself out there on social media. It's some pretty deep stuff.
That is some really deep. That is really deep stuff. And then once they get past that, I would imagine that you have a phase where you tell them about how to remove that.
Yeah.
If it's a limiting type of thought.
Exactly. That is the next piece, of the event and in general of what I teach is how you get started. Like, we're just cleared space for these beliefs and created new beliefs that are actually supportive. Then what are the activities you need to do to make money, and what are the activities you need to do to scale your business so that you can make money without it taking so much of your time?
That's an excellent thought. I have a question in the Facey chat. John Campbell, who is a sponsor of Money Talk with Melanie, is in the Facebook chat, and he asked, do you find that some entrepreneurs do a ready, aim, fire strategy instead of planning, or and just try different things until you catch a hot steak, is how he put it. Does that?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that ready, aim, fire strategy. What I think is interesting is entrepreneurs. So part of the reason entrepreneurs kind of think that they should do that is like just go out there and try it. Is because other entrepreneurs will say, all I did is go out and try it. and then I got successful. And so it's sort of perpetrating this myth that all you have to do is go out and try it and try a bunch of things and throw it against the wall, and then something's going to work, and then you're going to be successful. And if you do that, everything will be good. It's really in part, and what's funny is I call it the delusion myth. What happens, and I know this because I went to, my dad was a very successful business owner. I have a lot of colleagues where I had the blessing to go to a really great business school that has really great successful professors and colleagues. And what I find is that once you get past a certain level of success, there's a delusion that happens where sometimes you forget how you got there. And so a lot of successful entrepreneurs will say things like, it just happened to me, or I was in the right place at the right time, or I just tried something and it worked. And none of that is true.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I'm going through that right now with a business venture that I'm working on. And everyone surrounding me is like, oh, this is going to be, this is going to be fantastic. You're going to kill in this industry, blah, blah, blah. Right. And now part of it, I think, might be, I don't feel like I'm killing it because I'm used to, it's new and I'm used to just killing it, whatever I pursue, but it's new. So I expect success like right away, like now, like yesterday, because after all, I'm Melanie. So, and that's the way it's always worked. But perhaps in this particular industry, I might have to roll up my sleeves and get a little bit dirty before the success, comes as fully as it should be.
Absolutely. And that's quite normal to do that. And then the second thing about the ready aim fire piece is, there's only one way to make money. Really, there's only one way to make money. There's only one way to increase the money in your bank account. And that's
to talk about how the stock market took. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
So just repeating, there's only one way to make money, and that's to ask for it. And when it comes to asking for money, there's really two general ways to ask for it. One is to ask for it one-on-one, like one-on-one if you're having a meeting with somebody, or you're having a sales conversation one-to-one with someone, or one-to-many. So if you're asking for it, in front of a person, or at a talk, or in front of a meeting, or on a webinar, or on a video. Now, interestingly enough, if you're not asking for it on a regular basis, you're not making enough of it. And so the problem with the ready, aim, fire method is if you're ready, aiming, and firing at sales, you're going to do well. If you're ready, aiming, and firing, but you're firing in other directions, like you're busy spending 5 hours writing blog posts and spending 10 hours making the pictures on your website look pretty and 15 hours making your intro videos, you're not actually going to generate the money you want, and you're going to go through your savings in the process.
You hit the nail on the head. So I feel like what you're saying is, and this speaks to doing your business backward, right? Right. That perhaps you want to start making the money, asking for the money, doing the service, getting the money in your pocket, and then you can add some enhancements to make more money. Absolutely. You can spend time doing that when you can afford to spend time doing that, but your main focus should be asking for the money and getting your service done.
Absolutely. It's sales focused. And that's the skill that a lot of entrepreneurs put off because they feel like they need to be ready for it. But really, that's a mindset shift. It's a money story that many of us carry, that many entrepreneurs carry. But fundamentally, it's about how do I put this product to market? How do I sell it? Being the main focus, and then doing activities that they're what I call revenue generating activities, or RGAs, which are activities that generate sales conversation. Those are the activities that you're supposed to be putting your time and energy in front of. And those activities fall into one major category, which is positioning yourself as an expert. If you're positioning yourself as an expert in front of an audience, and then you're asking for a sales conversation, or you're asking for the sale, that is actually going to be the most profitable activity that you can do. And so the number one revenue generating activity is speaking, doing talks and workshops. The number two is doing sponsorship, where you're in front of audiences. And the number three is doing webinars, where you're actually on a webinar in front of your ideal clients and then asking for conversations or asking for sales.
That makes sense. That all makes that makes a lot of sense. And I think part of the reason why people don't do this too, I want to know how you feel about this, is because they fear that people won't see the value in what they're offering.
Absolutely. And it's a valid fear because, so one of the methods that I teach is how to do an intuitive sales conversation, and I call them heart-to-heart sales conversations. And one of the best ways to do an intuitive or heart-to-heart sales conversation is to actually not be in front of somebody who is cold. And what I mean by that is they've never heard of you before, or they've heard of you off the internet. Because converting somebody who is a cold person in front of you is very difficult for anyone.
Right.
Even a trained salesperson. What I do recommend is that when you're doing conversations in front of people that are warm. And so getting back to your statement about people are afraid they want to show their value in some way, I highly recommend that you show your value. And the way that you show your value is that you position yourself as an expert. That's why speaking works. Because before you're asking for the sale, you're imparting content. That's why doing things, even like doing podcast work, because you're imparting value to a person who's listening to you, and then you're asking for a conversation. It's by doing videos work, it's by doing webinars work, it's by writing newsletters and articles work, because you are imparting value, and then in exchange for imparting that value, you're also asking someone to come and have a conversation with you, should they feel that there is a connection already there based on the value that you imparted.
That is that is very true. It makes so much sense. I'm laughing at myself while you're saying that. I'm like giggling, like, yep, that is true. I have another question in the Facey chat, but I have to break for a brief commercial. And on the other side of the break, I'm going to ask you. Eric Jessup, who's a regular fan of the show, asked, would it be accurate to say that a true entrepreneur gets other people to ask for money? So I want you to contemplate that while we take a little break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We are speaking with Monica Shah, and she's talking to us about everything, making money and becoming fantastic entrepreneurs. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Right now, you can get the credit you deserve. Just visit MrCreditRepair.biz. Let their expert credit repair specialist remove late payments, charge-offs, collections, even old bankruptcies fast and easy. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Why go anyplace else? Increase your credit score today. At Mr. Credit, you always get a quality service, all at our everyday discounted price. Stop getting turned down for cars, credit cards, or even new homes. Visit MrCreditRepair.biz today. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Your credit repair is our number one priority.
Making a living can be tough these days with so many jobs going overseas. If you love numbers and puzzles and want job security, you can become a tax specialist with an amazing 6-month tax course from Tax Mama. Operate your own tax practice locally or anywhere in the world where there are American taxpayers. It's a great way to write off your trips to visit family for months at a time. Everything you need to pass the IRS 3 special enrollment examinations is included in this course. Visit irsexams.school. And if you need more than 6 months, that's okay. Take your time. You're in the course until you pass the exams or until you unsubscribe and reject Tax Mama's emails.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We're on with Monica Shah. And before we went to break, Eric Jessup, who's in a Facey chat, asked the question, would it be accurate to say that that true entrepreneurs get other people to ask for money. What do you think about that, Monica?
I'm not, so I guess I have to be clear about what he's implying, which, from what I understand, what he's saying is true entrepreneurs get other people to do the sales for them.
Okay.
And I don't think that's true at all. And in fact, most entrepreneurs are the best salesperson. Like, if you're a founder of your company, and you're going to be the best salesperson for your company. And so most entrepreneurs end up doing all the asking for money in the beginning. And generally speaking, you are best suited to learn how to sell, to learn how to ask for money, up until you reach about the $500,000 mark in your business. And at which point, I think around then is a great time to start to build a sales team. To get your first salesperson, the next is to build a sales team of people who you can then train to have sales conversations the way you would like them to be had, and that represent your company well. And the reason I recommend you wait until around $500,000 to do that is because any salesperson that works for your company, like if you have a 1 in 4 close rate, which means that you're closing 1 out of 4 people that come to you, and your salesperson is going to have something like a 1 out of 10 close rate. So they're going to leave money on the table as part of their training process. Not to mention the fact that you're going to be paying them a commission. So you have to be at a point in your business where you're ready to leave money at the table, where you have the cash flow to be able to do that before you allow somebody else to sell for you.
Okay.
So I could be misreading that comment. And maybe that's the way that I read from what he's saying.
I'm sure he'll put it in there if we misunderstood, he'll say so. No, but I thought that was a good answer. So I have another question for you: is why is it important to never say no when it comes to spending money? I like this philosophy. I'm kidding. I have a feeling that you don't mean it the way.
Well, I do mean it in the sense that one of the reasons that we're all entrepreneurs is if you think about it, we want to have the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that you can make an infinite amount of money, right? There's no cap, there's no ceiling to your creativity, to your expansion, to the amount of offerings that you can put out into the world and then generate revenue from that. And once you start to get that, it's a very beautiful thing. So from a mindset perspective, whenever you come across something that you would like to buy, whether it be as simple as, an awesome pair of jeans that cost $250, all the way up to that brand new car that costs $80,000, all the way up to a new home, right? That's on the beach that costs millions of dollars. Whatever it is that you have in your mind to create, my recommendation is that you figure out how much it is, and then ask yourself the question, how am I going to generate the revenue to create this? And by when am I going to generate that revenue? So that it's never a no. You're never saying, no, I can't do that. You're always asking the two very most important questions, which is how am I going to create this revenue, and by when am I going to create this revenue so that I can have everything I want? Because when you have that space, when you're in that space, you're allowing the universe to first come in and help you create. And second, whenever you ask your brain questions, our brain is programmed to give the answers. So as soon as you ask, how am I going to create that revenue, you're going to notice 7 new ideas come up for you to generate that revenue. And that is the best motivation. Let your desires pull you towards generating more. Right? It's actually the most fantastic way to be inspired is to want things and to really be very clear about what you want, and then allow that desire to pull you to do the uncomfortable things or the unfamiliar things that may be in line with getting that.
Okay. I'm meditating on what you're saying, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So the answer is never really no, it's when and how and by when.
Exactly. How and by when.
I like that.
And I'll tell you, when you have to when you wake up at 8 o'clock and you know that at 9 o'clock you've got to call back somebody that maybe rejected you 3 days ago, it's a lot easier to make that call when you're visualizing a new house than it is when you're just forcing yourself to make a call.
So it actually helps changes your motivation. It shifts your motivation from fear to kind of positive, something more positive.
Absolutely. It's connecting every action you're doing in your business to creating something tangible that you can see that you really want. And for some people, it won't be like a house or a car or an outfit. For some people, it'll be taking a vacation with their family, or being able to go on that yoga training that they really want to do, or being able to take a month off to travel, to volunteer to help people. But whatever it is, it's getting really connected to why you're doing the work that you're doing so that you can actually get yourself to do the hard shit.
That makes sense. So let me ask you this, and I think that what kicks people out of entrepreneurship, or what keeps people from doing it consistently, is that even if they make some money in the beginning, they can't keep it going consistently enough. And how is it why does that happen to people? That they own a business, it may start out doing well, or it's so intermittent that they can't keep it going.
So most business owners live on what I like to call the feast or famine roller coaster. And that roller coaster is some months you're in feast. And what that means is that if you're selling products, you're selling a bunch of products. If you're selling services, you're selling a bunch of services, or you've sold a lot of services. And what happens is when you go into selling those products, or when you go into fulfilling on those services, you actually end up spending all your time and energy making and fulfilling the products or fulfilling the services. So you stop putting yourself out there, marketing and generating new leads. And the way that revenue works in 60 to 90 day cycles. So however you're positioning yourself as an expert today, for the next 4 weeks, if you're speaking, if you're doing podcasts, if you're doing videos, if you're posting on social media, however you're positioning yourself as an expert and putting yourself out there today, generally it's going to result in new clients 60 to 90 days from now. Sometimes that happens a lot sooner, but generally it's 60 to 90 days. So what happens is if you're not, when you're on that feast, cycle, and you're not positioning yourself for the next few months, suddenly all your clients drop when you're done with doing your fulfillment, or when you sold all your products, and then there's no new leads. So you go into a famine cycle. And when you're in that famine cycle, you're desperate, right? You're desperately seeking new clients. You're desperately seeking new distributors for your product, and you're trying to do all this marketing that you didn't do before. And then suddenly that creates another feast cycle where now you've done all this marketing and you can go into feast again, but then as soon as those clients are done, you drop back into famine. And this is a common cycle. I know for me, when I first started out, I would have one-on-one clients. I would rock up to 20 one-on-one clients, be super excited, but then stop all my marketing because I'm so busy working on my clients. And then one by one, the clients would finish, and I'd be so exhausted. I'd let it all fall back to zero because I just, then I would get into desperation mode again and rush to try to get more clients, and then it would go back up again. I lived in this cycle for a long time, but really started to understand that no matter how many clients you have, no matter how much fulfillment you have, you've got to have a consistent day, at least once a week, where you're working on activities that are positioning yourself as an expert, that are connecting, that are creating new leads. So that's your marketing activities, your revenue generating activities, and you want to stay consistent with that. So no matter whether you're in a feast cycle or you're in a famine cycle, so that you can start to really model out when the leads are coming in, and you don't have to worry so much of living on low income, high income cycle.
That's kind of an organization piece that can be really difficult to keep up, especially when you're going through a feast phase, because it just doesn't seem like it's as important as getting the work done, but it really is.
Absolutely. And if you're going through a feast phase, one of the key secrets to keeping the marketing up is having a team. And so it's really about delegating some of the creation of content and the posting of content, some of the putting yourself out there to other people on your team during those times that you can stay consistent even when you're super busy. It's also about boundaries. So I teach a lot of my clients, like if you're a full-time consultant, if you take a project, you should really only be agreeing to be on that project Tuesday through Friday, so that you can have one day a week to work on your own business. So it's also about boundaries around how much work are you taking in, so that you're not letting your business and working on your business go by the wayside. And
when it comes to your clients, it's so hard to say no because you want them to be happy all the time. So you don't want to say no ever.
Absolutely.
And I think that can be really tough, but it is needed to draw some boundaries. But I think it can be difficult, especially when you really just want your customers to be happy, you want your clients to be happy, and that can be difficult. And you think to yourself, I'm just going to do it this once, and then they'll kind of start to take advantage when you do that.
It's true, and ultimately, I think one way to think about it is that your clients don't actually want you to be desperate and unhappy. Because when you're desperate and unhappy, you're not giving them the highest level services. And you're not making the highest level of product that you could be. So when you're putting yourself into a situation where you're overstretching for a particular client and not giving your own business the time and energy it needs, you're actually setting yourself up to underperform for that client. And it's, whether they ever know that or not, it's actually a disturbance to them.
That's excellent. Well, listen, we're closing this hour. Please tell the audience where they can find you, how they can avail themselves of your services, where they can buy your book, and tell us about the title again. There's actually 2, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the first piece is everyone always asks me about these revenue generating activities. So if you've been listening and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to be asking for money more often, I need to be doing sales more often. First, I want to invite you to pick up my money-making marketing calendar.
Ooh.
It's a document that has all the revenue-generating activities in there. It has it by category. It has how many activities you're supposed to be doing every week, every month, and every quarter. And it also gives you a template to be able to fill out your own marketing calendar. So it's super useful to clarify these activities. And you can pick that up at revenuebreakthrough.com/marketing calendar.
Moneybreakthrough.com. Okay.
/marketing calendar.
Okay.
And then for those of you that want to really understand the steps of making this, and that's the making money at the beginning of the show, I've got this really clearly detailed for you in my book. It's called Getting Rich. You're Doing It Backwards. And you can pick that up at revenuebreakthrough.com/book. revenuebreakthrough.com/book.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. That was really handy. And so I will say selfishly, when I talk to my guests, I'm always picking up tips for myself. And I was able to pick up quite a few tips for myself, and I'm sure my audience will find that to be the case as well.
Thank you so much. I so enjoyed it. There's nothing I love talking about more than money.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much, and I hope you'll be back.
I would love that.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. That was Monica Shah. She was fantastic. Guest told us all about how to make money, how to be good entrepreneurs, how to set boundaries. I thought she did a fantastic job. I'm really happy to have had her on the show. We're going to take a break, and then the next guest that we have coming up, his name is Meredith Atwood. She is also a podcaster like myself. She is a best-selling author and also a motivational speaker. And she's going to talk to us about the year of no nonsense. I'm really excited about that because she's going to talk to us about the cost of not dealing with not dealing with ongoing nonsense in our lives. And I think that a lot of us probably deal with nonsense emotionally, physically, and financially. So I'm excited. She says that nonsense of our culture could be costly to your bank account. So I'm excited to have her on. We're going to take a break, and then I will bring her on in a few moments. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. Stay with me.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment,
and all kinds of other things.
money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside its dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Demmons. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, the justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Demmons. Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girls. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com, go to Quick Like a Bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct to the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We are broadcasting live on SHR Media and streaming live via Facebook. I hope you enjoyed our first guest, Monica Shah. If you missed it, you should go back and listen to it. She did a really great job. She's a business coach, and she was talking to us about revenue breakthroughs, and she did a really fantastic job with that. So I hope you'll go back and listen. Our second hour, we have with us Meredith Atwood. She's a best-selling author, podcaster, and motivational speaker, and she's going to talk to us about The Year of No Nonsense, which is a book that's being released in December of 2019. She's a very, very interesting person. I'm looking forward to this conversation. One of the things that she says is that our nonsense, the nonsense of our culture could be costly to your bank account. And I couldn't agree with that more completely. And I can't wait to talk to her about this. Without further ado, Meredith Atwood, how are you?
Hi, Melanie. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Listen, I would love for you to give the audience, I think you'll probably do a much better job than I will, about your background, which is so very interesting. And like how you got from point A to point, here I'm trying to lose 5 pounds and you're doing triathlon. Like, what is going on? So please tell the audience about your background.
Well, it's a really long journey that was definitely not a straight line. So I grew up as, kind of a fat kid, and then I found the sport of Olympic weightlifting in my teenage years. And of course, when we look back at our pictures from our high school days, we weren't fat, none of us, right?
No, I was a supermodel. You kidding?
Right. And so after I went off to college and realized that people with English degrees often don't make $1 million, I had to take the path that many people with English majors take, which is I went to law school. And I proceeded to develop a pretty severe drinking problem, and I gained a lot of weight, ended up around 260 pounds, and got married, had a couple kids, and one day I just looked in the mirror and thought, I don't even know who this person is. And it wasn't just the weight. I mean, it was everything. It was the career choice. It was the debt, the marriage, all of it. And my marriage was fine, but it's just, you wake up one day and you got a couple kids and you're married, and it's like, when did this happen? It was one of those moments. And so I ended up wandering into a gym just because the law firm I worked at had a lunch and learn, and they were selling gym memberships, only I didn't realize that's what they were doing. I went there for the free lunch. So once I got in the free lunch, I realized, oh no, I've got to buy this gym membership. So I ended up wandering in there, and I went to my first spinning class, which is that indoor cycling class, and I just kind of broke down in that spinning class, and this was about 10 years ago, and I realized that I wasn't the person that I had hoped to be. I had just turned into this workaholic, sad mom kind of drinking persona, and I thought, I don't know who this person is. And little by little, I just started moving my body. I didn't change a lot of habits, but over the course of the next 8 years, I started really moving my body, and I decided, you know what, I have a story to tell here while I do it, but I really just started a blog so people would, so my mom could keep up with me and I could hold myself accountable. But I went on to do 4 Ironman triathlons and become a triathlon coach and write a book in 2011. The second edition came out. And
let's back up a little bit. You say that very matter-of-factly. Oh, I just did a few, a few Ironman triathlons, Can you, before you move on from that, just like gloss over that, like that's nothing. Can you briefly, for those of us whose biggest exercise is running to the fridge, can you explain what that is? What's an Ironman triathlon? What does that involve?
Yeah. Okay. So let me back up even further. So my furthest run usually is the Dairy Queen. So let's be real here. I have done a lot of races, but I did all of them right around 200 pounds as a female. So I I am not like, fat mom to skinny mom to bikini. Like, this is not me. Like, I did this in the body that I have. But anyway, triathlon is a sport of swimming, cycling, and running. And there's lots of distances. There's really short ones where you can just go swim, a couple laps in the pool and get out and get on a spin bike and run on the treadmill in your gym. And then there's the ones that are super long, like Ironman, which is 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile marathon. But that's the Ironman. That's a big one.
Well, yeah.
A little silly. But that was not immediate. So the journey was very slow. I did my first triathlon. I fell on my bike. It was a journey. But it was me and the body I had. I think the big key to the fitness component of my life was I never said during that time, I'm going to wait until I lose this weight to try and do these athletic things. I just said, you know what? This is what I got. I'm going to go use this and go do this thing. and
wow.
And that's what I did. And I did it in the body I had. And you know what? So my big goal was always to weigh 180 pounds. Because when I was a weightlifter, I was 180 pounds. And I'm just kind of a thick girl. And so this whole time I did Ironman and I started really working and trying to improve my fitness. I never got down to 180. Ever. I would still be waiting a decade later if I had been waiting for that perfect time when my weight, that elusive number that really means nothing. If I had been waiting for that day to come when my weight was perfect, so that's what I try and encourage people to do. Look, we may all look silly while we're doing it, but you got to go now, go in the body you have and do whatever fitness you want to do, whether it's Zumba or running or triathlon. But that's what I did. I just went.
I love that. No, I love that. And I'm sure there's a lot of us that can completely relate to that, especially us women. We can be really hard on ourselves when it comes to our bodies. Yeah. No, nobody can tell you how ugly you are faster than you can.
Right. That is so right. I mean, we are so horrible to ourselves. And I mean, all you have to do to prove it is go back and look at your high school pictures. We were horrible to ourselves then, and now, I would kill to be that fat.
Oh, right? I look at my high school pictures now, I'm like, wow, you were kind of hot. Now look at you.
I was like, you were kind of cute.
Right.
Kind of cute. Yeah. I know. So that's the thing. We got to just go with what we have. Because I told my husband the other night, I said, it's not going to get any better. Let's be real. I can only improve day to day with what I got. I can't turn back time. I'm never going to look 20 again. So I just.
And you're not supposed to. If you're not 20, you're not supposed to look 20. That's
Right.
I'll be 40.
Hello.
I'll be 49 in a couple of weeks. And people often tell me that I look like I'm in my 30s, which I appreciate very much. And the closer I get to 50, the more I appreciate it. But you're not supposed. You're supposed to look your age. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really we really do ourselves a disservice, and I'm talking to myself too when I say this. We really do ourselves a disservice when we're not operating from a place of gratitude, particularly if we're healthy.
And a place of reality. I think there's so much pressure to be positive, and we should be positive. Good Lord, we have enough negativity, and there's enough out there that's negative. But I think so many of us are operating from a place of also just head in the sand because things didn't turn out like we hoped, or we don't look 20 and we're 40. We have to accept that, come to the place of truth. Okay, I am 40. I'm turning 40 in November. I am 40 years old. This is the age I am. This is the body I have. So I have to live my life right now. And, get my head out of the sand on living in the future or living in the past. We have to live now. And that's where I think people get stuck because they're like, oh, I don't know how to live now.
Listen, it's so true. It is so true. Yeah. I have a question. I do stream the show live on Facebook. And I have a question in the Facebook chat. Somebody asked for you to define what nonsense is. And I'm sure. Somebody said, what does she mean by nonsense? Please define.
Okay, so nonsense. Now listen, my nonsense is not your nonsense. We all have our own personal brand of it. Now, if you look up nonsense in the dictionary, I mean, grammar is a really fun place to start. Nonsense is a noun, which if you look at the definition of a noun is a person, place, or thing. So nonsense is very real. And the way I look at nonsense, and I can tell you where this kind of idea came from. And I had a really rough year in 2017, and everything kind of fell apart. My marriage and my health stayed, but everything else just went down the tubes. The businesses I started, the debt, the friends I thought were friends. And I looked around, and it was almost like there was a whisper. And I was like, this is nonsense. Everything is nonsense. And I just looked around at my life and saw the fights I was picking on social media. I saw the way I was talking to myself. I saw the habits I had created, all the things I had kind of dug. And I thought, I have so much of this nonsense. And so I began to ask myself when I was going into any situation or making a choice, is this nonsense for me? Yes or no? And it was really weird. I thought, I'm going to have a year of no nonsense. I'm going to do this experiment. And that was the dumbest thing I could have done because it became so much bigger than just the simple question of, can I have a year of no nonsense? Because I began to look at my truth, look at my life, look at my day-to-day, and ask myself, is this nonsense, yes or no? And a lot of my behaviors were. And a lot of the things I was doing on social media, like just, talking and commenting and all this stuff, I was like, this is nonsense. This is wasting time. And so little by little, I distilled down my habits to whether or not they were nonsense. And so what I mean by that, and it's kind of, you have to figure it out for yourself, but a lot of times when I talk to people, things pop into their head and they know right away what their brand of nonsense is. They know the stuff they're doing that's making them miserable. But the fun part of this discovery is that a lot of times the one thing we think is our biggest brand of nonsense is really just the outer layer. And we have to keep peeling. Like for me, if you had asked me years ago, what is your biggest problem? What is your biggest nonsense? I would have said, it's my weight. It's my body weight. I'm overweight. And if I fix that, everything will be okay. But then you have to say, is that really true? Is it really my weight? Or is it the fact that I just ate a large pizza and drank 2 bottles of wine? And I've done that for a decade. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why am I doing that? Well, is it because I'm unhappy in my job? Is it because I'm unhappy in my marriage? Does this go back to my childhood? And you just start asking all these questions and peeling and peeling and peeling. And then at some point, you will get to the core issue of what is holding you back from your best health, happiness, and success just by starting with that question, what in my life right now is nonsense? It's the craziest thing. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't done it.
Well, I'm reflecting, and I'm sure that everyone who's listening right now is doing the same thing and asking themselves that question. Like, what are the things that are nonsense? And what I hear you say, Richard in the Facey chat said it sounds like baggage, which I think I agree with that. How do you feel about that? Sounds a little bit like your baggage, right?
It can be baggage, but how does, I guess asking the question, like, how is your baggage showing up in your current day? In today, how is your baggage showing up? And that's what you kind of have to deal with. And yes, nonsense is kind of a silly word for some pretty big stuff. And I think when I thought, this nonsense that I have in my life, I'll just get rid of this and everything will be happy, it led me down a path of asking a lot bigger questions. And so, I think if you're ready to make changes, if you're looking at your life and thinking, I'm really unhappy with my financial situation right now, things have to change, you can kind of look at this from a broader picture and say, okay, what is my finances reflecting about other things, about my beliefs? It's all tied together. And so, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us do have baggage, and a lot of us have put that baggage in the sand where our heads also are. We're hiding.
That's a very kind way to put that.
Yeah.
It is.
Or we're taking our baggage and slinging it around and hitting all the people around us too. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, we've all got baggage for sure.
Yes, that's fun when you get to share your baggage with others. I'm sure they enjoy that too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about when you're ready to change, and you've had it up to here. You're ready. And I think that this year of no nonsense, which I outline in the book that's coming out in December, I mean, it's a process, and not everyone's ready for it. But when you know it, that's the thing. When you know something in your life is nonsense, when you identify it, you look it in the eye and you go, yep, that's nonsense. You can't unknow that. That becomes part of what you know. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, am I going to deal with this thing or not? And I always look, like, I have a hard time with laying out my finances. My husband is the finance guy. I just do what he says. But when I'm faced with putting that on the spreadsheet and looking it in the eye, all the money in, the money out, the money owed, then I can't unknow it. It's knowledge. It's truth. And then you have to either leave it, change it, or accept it. I think you just
nailed it. Hit the head. Come on, Melanie. You can say this. You just hit the nail on the head. You just hit the nail on the head when you said that it's what the truth is. Yeah. I think that's it right there. It's whatever the truth is, especially when it comes to our money. I mean, who wants to go and look at that?
Nobody. Like, I've got my head in the sand while we talk. I'm talking through a straw.
Right? Like who wants to look at that? And I often recommend these apps like mint.com, which I think is excellent. That's the one that I use. And by use, I mean, when I find myself in trouble, I go look at it and say, geez, what happened? Oh, well, you spent $7,000 on lattes last month. Maybe not. Maybe you need to budget a little better with your latte budget. Maybe a little less time.
Right. It's the thing about the truth is, for some reason, we don't want to deal with it. And it could, yes, point directly back to that baggage. You know, someone hurt us, something hurt us, somewhere along the way. We had trauma, or we had experiences where we shut down and said, yep, no more of this. I'm going to go spend money, drink money, whatever. Like, you're just off doing this other autopilot nonsense to you. Now, for me, alcohol is nonsense. I can't drink. It's off the table for me. But that doesn't mean it's nonsense for everyone. But then you look at someone else and they've got a bad spending habit. You know, Amazon is nonsense for them or whatever, because they can't handle it. We have to look at the truth of ourselves and what our own personal brand of nonsense is. And then you got to figure out what your biggest brand of nonsense is. And if you don't deal with anything else, dealing with that biggest thing is going to provide the biggest rewards, to reap the biggest dividends.
So
you can't face that. I mean, if you can't, like, if you're not at the point where you can deal with your biggest one, then deal with the little stuff. Ask if it's nonsense to go volunteer for PTA and bake all those cookies. I say yes, it's nonsense. I'm not doing that.
No, I like that. By the way, someone in the Facey chat, one of my friends in the Facey chat, Linda Flint, says, Meredith Atwood of Swim Bike Mom, cool deal. So she's happy that I'm having you on the show today.
Well, hello.
Meredith says hello. I am would really like to start day trading. That was random. That's what Doug in the Facey chat just said. I
don't know anything about that. Me day trading would be nonsense. Let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Don't, Richard says, don't tell my wife to go. No nonsense. She might divorce me. Well,
no, Richard.
I was going to ask you that you said that there's usually one big like nonsense thing going on? Is there oftentimes when you peel back the onion a core that kind of from which everything else kind of spiders out of?
I think so, and I think I'm not a psychologist and I don't play one on TV, but I do think that we get to the core that happened at some point early in life or early in our teenage years that started the garbage behavior that we're perpetuating. And some people have their lives together, some people don't. It's a pendulum, it's a sliding scale on where you fall. But I do think that there's the core issue, and we have symptoms that are presenting like they're issues. Like, for example, my weight. My weight was so not the issue. It was a symptom of a lot of stuff from a long time ago. And it was a protective measure because this, that, and the other. But the funny thing is, once you even get to the core and you go, oh my gosh, this is the issue. This is why I'm behaving this way and I have to stop. Then out pops another truth onion, like right next to it. And you got to start peeling that one because you're never completely done with all the issues, right? So it's like a juggling act of your life. But that's the thing, like we always look at life like it's a straight line that we have to get to the perfect place and everything will be all right. But the truth of the matter is we are juggling and life is up and down and we're not going to get there going straight from point A to point B. We have to show ourselves some grace, but work our way through the truth and our goals and our health and all of that along the way. But yeah, you got to get to at least one core truth and deal with it. And that's hard and it's not fun, but I tell you, on the other side of it, there's so much freedom in knowing you're standing in your truth and dealing with your own stuff. For sure.
There has to be. So if we were to go without telling us too much, so we don't need to buy the book, obviously. We need to buy the book when it comes out in December 2019. But give us some hints about what's in the book and what it is that you describe that goes on during the year of no nonsense. Give us a kind of a preface so that we'll buy the book and get the details.
Yeah, sure. So you're going to get a lot of my stories. You're going to get a lot of really embarrassing stuff that I probably shouldn't have told, but it's too late now. Kind of stuff. So I'm going to tell you how I worked through my year of no nonsense. But what you're going to get out of it, I'm going to give you little stories about what I did. And then at the end of each chapter, I'm going to give you some things to think about. Like we're at this checkpoint now. How you doing?
Okay.
Have you gone through your list of nonsense? Like, here's a list of potential nonsenses. Do you see any of this? So it's very lighthearted, but also very heavy and also funny. But what it's going to do, my goal for anyone picking up this book is if you have ever woken up in the morning and you think, I am stuck. I don't know how to move forward. I have a problem, but I don't know what to do about it. If you've ever woken up and felt that way, this book is to help you work through the process of figuring out what's really got your goat deep down, where this is all coming from. If you've always, quote unquote, always struggled with the same thing, this book is to help you figure out why you're still struggling with that same thing 20 years later. Let's figure it out and let's ask these questions. And the only reason I figured out mostly what was going on with me, I still got other stuff to figure out. I got other things to unseal. But the only reason I figured it out is because I kept asking myself the right questions. I kept doing the work. I didn't give up. And that's the main thing. We just have to keep going. And this book is just a guidepost, and it's got some funny stories, and it also has some stuff that's probably going to tug at you. I did not have unicorns and rainbows for much of my life. My early 20s were very dark, very, very dark, and I have been at rock bottom, and that was where I was able to look up and see the sky and go, okay, I can't hang down here. It's too rough. I got to go up. And anyone who has been at rock bottom and risen out of it can say that. But a lot of us are really stuck in the bottom right now, and we think we can't get out. This book, when you read this book, you will say, oh my gosh, she has felt that. She's been there. I might have something that in this book that will help me. And that's all. That's the only reason I wrote it. That's the only reason I wrote this book. That's the only reason I wrote my first triathlon book. I wanted an overweight woman to be able to read that book and go do a triathlon. And now I want a stuck person who thinks that they're never going to get anywhere with their health, happiness, and success. I just want them to read this and read my story and see that you can. That's it. Because you can. You really can get unstuck. I believe that with all of my heart because I've been on both sides of it.
I love that. I love that. And I love that for you, really. That's beautiful. Tell me, let's hit on now at some point, and especially if somebody came in the middle of the show, they might say, that's a great guest. What does that have to do with money? Why is she like, she's a fantastic guest and all this is really good information, but did she just turn her show into Dr. Phil? What does this have to do with money? No, I definitely did not. You're looking for Dr. Colette. That would be my dad, the psychologist.
Oh,
no, but what
doesn't everything go back to money? Let's be real.
It does. Well, it does. And that's one of the things that I love about my show. They're like, what do you talk about on your show? I'm like, well, I mainly talk about, economics, personal finance, and your civic duty, how they all interchange politics. But I also pretty much talk about whatever I want because money's all attached to but if I find a guest that doesn't necessarily center around money, I'll talk about it anyway, because on some level somewhere, the money's going to come into play.
For sure.
And
absolutely.
And you say that nonsense can mess with your finances.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have, well, okay, so I'll use my example with my drinking problem. I have a little handy app that you can enter your days sober, the amount of money you spent every day doing that, and how much money you're now saving being a sober person. And I have saved $35,000 in 4 years.
How much? Say that again.
35,000. I drank wine.
See.
I'm serious. So there you go.
Now, see, when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I said.
What nonsense are you doing? What habit are you doing that is costing you money? And you can boil it down to anything. If you're like, oh, I'm overweight, well, you may be eating trash food. And trash food is expensive when you think about the cost of your health, the cost of your lack of sleep, your lack of productivity. I mean, we can go on and on. Well, pick another nonsense. Well, you have a shopping problem. Well, there you go. You know how that impacts your finances. Your other nonsense is you have problems with relationships. Well, that's going to cost you money because you're paying for therapy, or you're paying for dating services, or you're paying for gifts for these people who don't appreciate you. It impacts everything, and it impacts your money because if you are dealing with nonsense, you are wasting time. Time is money. And you are definitely wasting money if you're dealing with some big stuff. Absolutely.
No, you're right about that. There's no lying nowhere on the planet about that. You're definitely wasting money on so many levels.
Yeah. I mean, time is our most valuable commodity, right? That is truly the one thing that we can't put a price on. And when you are depressed, or you are, drinking to the blackout, or you're not exercising, because all of these things impact your ability to make money, your ability to think clearly with what you do with your money, and what you spend it on. And then it's all connected to your health. And your health, that's also a very subjective term. I mean, we want to say health is an objective thing that we can put a face and a name to, but health is very subjective. And if you're not at your best, feeling healthy, the best version of yourself, it's going to cost you money, because you're either going to spend it in medical, or you're going to spend it in buying bigger and bigger clothes as you eat worse and worse food that ends up costing you more and more money. It is all connected. Your health, happiness, and success is all connected to how little nonsense you have. I'm convinced now that I've lived it.
No, for sure. Doug in the Facebook chat says that there's a lot of emotional stuff that's associated with money. which I tend to agree. It's hard for me to pinpoint that. It's hard for me.
I'll give you a good example. It just happened to me yesterday morning.
Please do.
Yeah, I mean, my husband and I are trying to finish up our taxes. We had to file an extension because we moved 2 states, which is another story.
Oh, goodness.
But he was asking me, he's like, well, do you have X, Y, and Z? And I was like, well, yes, I do. I have it. He asked me another question, and I was like, look, you cannot ask, get off my back, stop. And I realized that he is just asking me a very simple question. But my relationship with money and the way I've handled it in the past and growing up was quite nonsensical. I had a really skewed view of money and credit and finances until the last probably decade. And so when he approaches me and asks me a simple question, I get emotional about it because it dredges up this baggage from the first question. And so then it ruined my day. My whole day, I was mad. I was stomping around. And, who does he think he is telling me this stuff? But yes, nonsense has very deep tentacles in all aspects of our life, and there is a lot of emotion around money. And if you have not dealt with the nonsense around your money, it's going to cause emotional reactions, which raise your cortisol, enact your fight or flight, and then you're yelling at people, and then it's relationship. It all trickles down. It's crazy.
Well, the good news is it was his fault. So that's
right. I mean, it was totally
absolute 100%. I mean, how dare he ask simple questions like that?
Yeah, simple questions are nonsense.
They can be. They certainly can be. I'm trying to figure out. I'm listening to what you're saying about nonsense, and we glossed over, and I think out of my own guilt, how social media can be. Now, and you said everybody's nonsense is not the same, but I think the pushback that I would give you on that is when it comes to social media, it might be. It might be that way for everyone. I don't know.
I have a whole chapter on social media in the book because I love social media, and I also want to throw my phone and computer into the creek. Like, I get it. So what I managed to do around social media really brought the nonsense to my eyes. I began to open my eyes and see, because I've got a decent social media following, so I've got some, the haters or whatever. So I started to look around, and in the book, I set out kind of my criteria that I have used going forward from this year of no nonsense when engaging in social media. And I have some very clear rules. And the number one rule that I have now is this comment that I'm about to post or this post I'm about to post going to result in a waste of my time? And what I mean by that, is it going to elicit a reaction that I then have to defend? Or am I commenting in a way that is going to I'm going to spend the rest of the night defending? If that is the case, I don't comment. I just don't. And I understand people have different situations. For example, if someone attacks my family or my children on social media, they might as well get out their camping chair because we're going to go to war. There are things that I'm going to fight for, and I get that. And there's beliefs, and there's things you just don't let lie on social media. So there's that. But then there is a tremendous amount of time and energy wasted in just fighting. And when I looked back on the year prior to the year of no nonsense, when I really lost a lot of stuff, I was doing a lot of fighting on social media. I was responding and I was commenting, and I thought, this is nonsense. I'm not going to do this anymore, because it didn't make me feel good. It didn't make other people feel good. And so I created a list of questions that I asked myself before I really post anything now. And it's, does this post provide value in some sort to the audience? If not value, is it at least entertaining or funny or showing something where someone may say, hey, there's a little bit of my story in this? I try to make sure it has a point. and there's things that, and that's coming from, I mean, I have an audience to serve, I guess. I mean, if you say it that way. But, I mean, even if you just have, 150 friends and you're just doing it for the heck of it, pictures of your kitty cats are awesome. Like, they are. That is pure social. That is why we started social media, to see, kids, cats, and cars, I guess.
Right.
But, so just having some sort of filter, it really removes the nonsense. Just thinking, like, is this valuable to someone? Does anyone care about this? Are they going to fight with me over it? Am I going to change anyone's mind politically by this post? And so I just live my life that way now. And it's been wonderful. I turn off all my notifications. I don't get any. So in order to know if, someone commented on Instagram, I have to go into Instagram to see it. It doesn't alert me. And that was hard because I was a big social media addict. Had all my notifications. Everything was urgent. But turning those off and then just asking if I'm going to waste my time with this, I'm not going to do it. Asking that question. It really almost solved it for me.
Oh my goodness. Richard said that he deleted 200 connections on Facebook. I feel bad deleting. I apologize. That was my puppy. Every now and then he likes to interject during the show. He's actually been.
I didn't hear him.
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay, so maybe he didn't pick it up. He just barked like really loud for no. This is like has some kind of like puppy Tourette's. I'm glad you didn't hear him. That's good. Maybe he didn't pick it up. But Richard in the Facebook chat said he deleted 200 connections. Now that's something I've gone through and deleted. Like if you have no face, you're out. Like I have 4,998 friends right now.
Yeah. Here's the thing about all this. I think it's chapter 7 in my book is about the other people and people pleasing. And we can, with social media, we can find ourselves not like caring more about not hurting the people's feelings on social media that we don't even like in the first place. You know what I mean?
I do.
Make us feel like worse people. Like this is also a criteria. Like if I'm in a relationship or a social media relationship with someone who makes me feel like a worse person every time I engage with them, they're gone. You've got to learn to close your circle and to really not care if people you don't like in the first place don't like you. Because that is the definition of insanity. That is crazy talk. When we are trying to impress people we don't even like, love, or respect. Like,
you make it sound so bad. Like, well, no, you make it sound like such a bad thing. But I do keep some. Now I'm involved in politics, and I do keep some. I keep a couple of legitimately not like nasty people on my friends list, but I do it for entertainment purposes. And I don't always. I don't entertain every. I had to learn though. I had to learn not to entertain all of their foolishness. Like I had to train myself. Because they literally, this one particular very nasty person, and he's like nasty, will post stuff on my page and then say something about it, like really just trying to like get at me, right?
Oh yeah.
Just like something like that is in opposition to what he knows I believe or my political affiliations. Just like say something really mean, and I used to take the bait all the time. Now. Because I don't take the bait all the time. It depends. Now I try to think about it for a second, give myself a minute, and say, do I really have time for this today? And most of the time, I don't.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I don't.
And that's the thing. Like, if it's not making you insane, like that's the barometer. Is this making you crazy? Is this hurting you in some way? Is this making you doubt yourself, feel worse about yourself? Then don't engage them. Then get rid of them. Unfollow if you can't. Unfriend if you can, and block if they're really hurting you.
Yeah, no, listen, you're absolutely right. And people say to me, why don't you get rid of this guy? Why are you, like my other friends are like, why are you even friends with this person? And I'm like, because we need someone to practice on. When we're having our political debates, if we're in an echo chamber, right, and we all like believe the same thing, then how are we going to provide intellectual exercise if I don't keep him here? And I say it in front of him. Like, it's not like I hide it. I'll say it like right on the same thread. Like, he's here for our entertainment, guys. Yeah. So, but no, I think I know people who, and they're very productive people who are not on social media at all. My ex-boyfriend is not on social media at all. And I can't imagine that. I can't either.
I think I can't. And that's probably bad, but all my friends live in my computer, so I wouldn't have anyone.
Well, I'm like, how are you not? And he still has he said he was on Facebook for like 6 months, and it was driving him insane. So he deleted it and he hasn't been back on. I admire that. That's kind of crazy, but I kind of admire it though.
I do, but like, I don't want that life. I get a lot from social media. That's just me. I get a lot from it, and I think it's because I put boundaries around it. It was killing me 2 years ago.
Oh,
it really was.
There's been times when I've seriously considered just deleting if it wasn't for my show, that I definitely would have deleted my Facebook page maybe 10 times over. But I kept it because of my show, and I have sponsors and this, that, and the other. So it forced me to create boundaries. I didn't have
I think the thing too is if you begin to really stand in your truth and you know who you are, it becomes easier too. Because you just aren't as impacted by other people's opinions or comments. Like, when I get a crappy comment now, I'm just like, whatever. I mean, it truly doesn't impact me. But this has been after years and years of being jaded by it, and also just coming to a place where I'm reasonably content with myself. And I think you have to be there, because if you've got someone, if your inner voice is telling you that you're no good, and then you've got other people, affirming that, that's not healthy. It's not good for you. And you've got to get yourself straight.
Everything is not worthy of you defending. That's the thing, particularly on social media.
Yep, true.
That's
what I was saying. Unless it's about my family and my kids, I'm or I have other things too. But if it's not in the list of 5 things that really matter to me, I'm not talking about it. I'm not going to go to the mat for it. It's not worth it.
That makes total sense. And I think that social media is probably the biggest, and that's why I brought it up to talk about it a little bit more, is probably the source of a lot of nonsense.
For sure. And it helps perpetuate our own nonsense that we've had before even social media. So, back in the 80s when we didn't have social media and I was still a fat kid, like, it's just perpetuating that by looking at, inspiration and all these other, it enforces exactly what we're dealing with internally. And so you have to come to the point where you feel okay about yourself. You can deal with what the external world is giving you, not just social media, but everything.
Do you find, and this may even sound like a silly question, but do you find that part of the nonsense is you have people who, and maybe it's because of the era in which I grew up. I didn't grow up in the social media era. But do you find that some of the nonsense is people trying to create this whole other life that's not really representative of their actual life? As part of the...
Everything you see on social media is not real.
Well, exactly.
It's not real. It is the highlight reel, and it is not the real stuff. I mean, every once in a while you have the accounts that show you the real thing, but no one is getting the whole picture. I mean, I have a couple of friends that I had to unfollow because their life was so good on social media. They made me angry. I mean, they had no kids, that they were single with all the money that I have spent on my children, and they're just going on vacation with it. And they have so much fun, and they look like they love each other, and I can't look at it anymore. So I unfollowed them, and they're my dear friends, because I just couldn't and I have a good life. I have a great life, and I still couldn't deal with it. And that's what I mean. You can still participate in social media and unfollow people you love dearly because they're making you crazy.
But I think you put it accurately when you said it's the highlight reel. That I'm so going to use that in class when I talk to my kids about this. You are absolutely right. The social media is the highlight reel of people's lives.
It is, and that's why when someone posts like a really downer of a post or a super vulnerable post, which I've been guilty of, and I do it because that's the way I feel. And anytime I feel that I can post something where it might be helpful to someone, like if I have a bad day or I'm having body image issues, I'll post it. But that's why when I post one of those or other people post things like about their not so great day, those will be your most amazing performing posts. You'll get the most love and comments on that kind of stuff because people are like, finally, this post makes sense to me today. The vacation in Bermuda does not make sense to me.
Right?
I've been in traffic.
Well, I'm going to tell you because, when I first started doing this, my show is about 3 years old now. And when I first started doing it, people would say, people, well-meaning people who are dear to me, who are also in the business, would say, you really have to be careful what you post on social media. You want to continue to give off a certain impression, blah, blah, blah. And then one day somebody said to me on social media, your life seems so glamorous, right? I wish my life was half as glamorous as yours or something like that. And they were serious, right? And I thought to myself, yeah, okay, well, you didn't, I didn't post about how like I was balled up in the corner crying for all weekend. That's why I'm like, sure, you saw the picture of me, at some high profile, high end whatever event, with the paparazzi, and that's fantastic. But you didn't see, what?
Yeah, you know what I get all the time. So I have a lot of really nice gym equipment in my home gym. And if I post a workout from my home gym, people are like, well, that must be nice to have all that. And I'm like, do you know how long it's been since I've been on vacation? This is my vacation money. This is what I have chosen to spend my money on because I work 19 hours at my kitchen table. And then I have to go 5 feet to do my workout or I won't get to do it. You don't know what everyone's doing. I look like I have this fancy gym, but that is my lifeline.
No, it's very true.
I've been outside 4 days. You know what I mean?
Right. And from then on, I kind of dismissed that advice. I thought, you know what? I need to be more authentic. And I try not to reveal too much, but when I have a bad day, I say so. When I'm feeling vulnerable or whatever, I say so because I think it's listen, I know what my life is really like. And if somebody thinks that my life is glamorous, I am definitely putting highlight reels on social media if you think my life is glamorous. So I'm like,
I think it's so important to just make sure that we are all presenting at least some authentic version of ourselves.
Yes.
Because half of the problem that's going on in this culture right now is nobody is talking about addiction. No one is talking about pain and depression and how dark it can get and how much pain there is.
Yes.
I mean, my book has a lot of pain in it. I talk about a lot of pain, but that's because I wish I had known how many people felt like I did 20 years ago.
And there's tons.
Some of what I experienced wouldn't have happened.
And you just don't know how much work people are putting in to themselves to present to you what it is that you see on social media. You have no idea what kind of building had to go on. I mean, I had one of my doctors say to me the other day, Melanie, you have suffered enough. Stop the stuff. You've suffered enough. He's like, I don't want you. He wanted me to stay on my regimen. And he's like, you've suffered enough. You need to stop your own suffering. And I guarantee you 99% of my audience would be like, what in the world is she talking about? Because there's been as glamorous as it looks from time to time, there's been some real suffering from time to time that only, people like my doctor know about. But
and I love that word you brought up, suffering. That's a big one. That's a big one in my book too, because so many of us are suffering, and we don't like to use that word because, I can't be suffering. So-and-so's got it so much worse.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is, yes, somebody somewhere has it way worse, but if you are suffering, and your truth is true. And we are all suffering to a degree, and we have to get to the core of that suffering, and how do we keep peeling back the layers to figure out what it is so we can start to heal. And so when we heal, then we heal our children and our students and our communities. Like, we can't fix this world if we are a bunch of broken pieces trying to fix the world.
You are so right. And even when he said that word, in the back of my mind, that's exactly what went off. I was like, suffering? I haven't been suffering. But he was looking dead in my eyes, and he was dead serious. He's like, it's enough already.
Yeah.
He's like,
I look at it as the Good Will Hunting thing. When you see the movie with Robin Williams and Matt Damon, Good Will Hunting, when Robin Williams tells Will's character, it's okay, or what does he say? I can't remember. But when he just repeats over and over again that it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, and then finally Will breaks down. Mm-hmm. Because the recognition is what we are all after. We are after recognition that we feel a certain way, and that someone out there gets it. And I think that's what we got to find.
No, I think you're right. And to be quite honest, I didn't think that my doctor got it, but apparently he did. Apparently he did. And he's like, let yourself stop suffering. Stop. Just stop it now. And I was like, okay.
And what did that mean to you? What did that mean to you that you saw it? It was everything, right?
It was, but strangely, I just felt like what you said. So many people have it so much worse, and I never viewed it as even just viewing it as actual suffering kind of made me shift a little bit as to trying to maintain what I'm supposed to maintain, because I didn't even view it as suffering. I viewed it as, everybody's got something to deal with. I'm only 5'2". I need a step stool. Everybody's got their stuff. Like, nobody's perfect. And this was just mine. So, but I never looked at it like there was actual suffering involved. But I'm not him, the guy who's had to look at me, every 3 or 4 months for the last 10 years.
Right. But that's what we've got to start looking at. We've got to start looking at the truth.
Yeah, he sees it completely differently. Yeah. And I'm sure he sees a lot of nonsense is what he would describe it as in my life, for sure. So where can we get your book about the triathlon? When can we look forward to your book coming out? Still coming out December 2019. Tell us about it.
Yeah, December 17th. So it's available for pre-order now on Amazon. You can find it by searching. The easiest way is probably to search Year of No Nonsense or my name, Meredith Atwood. My triathlon book, the second edition, came out in March. So if you want a taste of my demented humor, you can check that out. And if you think you want to start moving your body, you don't even have to want to do a triathlon to want to start moving your body reading that book. So yeah, the Year of No Nonsense, December 17th. We're having an amazing book launch for anyone in the Northeast in Boston at Brookline Booksmith. And then the book tour starts. So super excited.
Oh, I love it. And where can we follow you on social media?
Oh yeah, everywhere. I am Swim Bike Mom. So instead of Swim Bike Run, just replace Mom with Run, or Run with Mom, because really that's all we do as moms anyways, run around. So Swim Bike Mom.
I love it. And we got to give our mutual friend Eden Gordon Hill a shout out before we leave.
Yes.
She's the best, isn't she? Hi, Eden. She's probably cooking her hubby dinner or something, being, the perfect wife.
She's probably like, Meredith never shuts up, is what she's thinking.
I doubt she's thinking. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on my show so very much. And I appreciate Eden reaching out so that I can have you on the show. You did an excellent job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Absolutely. You too. Have a great weekend. I want to thank everybody for listening to Money Talk with Melanie today. My return to the airwaves, to the internet waves, to the interwebs waves. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I want to thank both of my guests, Meredith Atwood and Monica Shah. They both did excellent jobs, made my return to the show much, much easier. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Have a great weekend.
Is your cell phone bill out of control? Then this is your wake-up call. The new TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month, no contract, plus unlimited carryover data with active service. Yep, the new TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
The housing industry is changing a lot, quickly.
That's why we made the Freddie Mac Multifamily Podcast.
We're bringing together industry leaders to talk about market trends
and the financing behind them.
Subscribe and download wherever you get your podcasts.